Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. This is your mentor Dr. Shamaita Basu, and in this session we will be talking about the second half, the second session of the topic genetic engineering of plants basically. So first let's start with this diagram. As you can see, so it's basically in this diagram what they're saying is that plant biotechnology is an extension of traditional plant breeding. Okay, so just let's see the difference between traditional plant breeding and plant biotechnology. So in traditional plant breeding, we have the desired gene. This is the desired gene in this chromosome, as you can see. And what we are doing is the end product, as you can see, many genes are getting transferred. But in plant biotechnology, we have this desired gene. We have an extra, like we are isolating this desired gene, and then only the selected gene is getting transferred to the to the target organism that we are going to make or produce, and that is known as the GMO, or the genetically modified organism. They are also known as genetically modified crops. Okay, so that is the basic difference. So in traditional plant breeding, we were not being able to choose our genes or choose our traits. Okay, these are the traits or these are the genes that I need to get expressed in the plant. Okay, but in plant biotechnology, since the technology is now advanced, so we can actually individually choose the particular gene whose trait we need to get expressed in the plant. Okay, okay, now let's focus on this diagram. This is again a very important diagram focusing on the production of GMOs. So there are various ways that we have to have better harvest. Harvest means better yield, better production of crop, better crop productivity. Okay, now what do you mean by better? Better means more production in a less amount of time, more yield in less period of time. That is what is meant by better harvest. Okay, now what are the ways? See, three different ways I have shown over here: selective breeding, advanced breeding, and GM plant breeding. So basically these GMOs, these genetically modified organisms, they are the product of a specific type of plant breeding where precise changes are made to a plant's DNA to give its characteristics that cannot be achieved through traditional plant breeding methods. So that is the basic definition or the basic concept of a GMO. Something which is genetically modified means something which was not being able to be achieved naturally through natural methods, through a natural plant breeding techniques. Okay, okay, now let's focus. So there is something called selective breeding. What is it? The plant breeders will look for, select, and crossbreed the best performing plants in the field, similar to how farmers have naturally improved the crops they grow since the farming began. So basically we select the specific traits and then we crossbreed the various plants which are expressing those various traits, and thus we are naturally improving the quality of the crops. So that is selective breeding. Then we have advanced breeding. What is that? The breeders identify and tag the desirable characteristics within a plant genome. Then they use this information to pick which plants to crossbreed and create better performing crops. Means you are localizing, you are focusing what trait you need. And finally, talking about GM plant breeding. So here if the plant needs a trait that cannot be achieved through advanced breeding, then a gene can be turned off or moved, or a gene from another source can be inserted. Exactly what we talked about in the previous session about meristem cloning and plant cloning, etc. So either if we see that we are like if we are seeing that we cannot achieve the trait, we cannot achieve the target by either selective breeding or advanced breeding, then we will go for this GM plant breeding where we will either silent a gene, we can either move it away from the plant, or we can add some extra gene into the plant from any other plant or from any other source. Okay, So as a result of GM breeding, what will happen, it can help the farmers to have a increased or changed nutritional value, to prevent crop disease, various crop disease, to manage the yield, and also to combat different insects, okay, without applying insecticides and pesticides, because these insecticides and pesticides, they have different side effects. So if the best possible way will be if we can do away with this insecticides and pesticides, which can be achieved by GM breeding. Okay, now moving forward. Now the GMO process, the process of producing this genetically modified organisms, there are different steps. Okay, what are they? The first step will be trait identification. So it is the most crucial step. The first and also the most crucial step. Why? Because we need to carefully identify that which trait we want to get expressed in the plant. Okay, so that will be the first step and the most crucial step. So there's a fun fact that I would like to share with you, because studying or learning new things is all about making it a fun, because otherwise you will not be able to love it, you will not be able to get an interest in it. Okay, and there's no use of mugging up things. So it's important that you get a particular amount of interest in whatever topic you are learning about. Okay, so this is just a small fun fact. So for every one trait that is brought to the market, more than 6,000 others are screened and tested. Now I really don't know whether this is a fun fact or a very, tedious fact, because as far as the scientists are concerned, because scientists, they are always in the background. Okay, they are never in the forefront. Their struggle or their achievements do not ever come in the forefront. They are always like the background dancers, because uh, the ultimate productivity of a particular product, whether it's a new plant, whether it's a new crop, whether it's a new medicine, it's always the market specialists, the companies, the different pharmacies, the different franchises, that come in the forefront, that come in the media. But the main concept, the main work, the root or the stem of that particular project are the scientists. Okay, so just in order to bring one trait in the market, the scientists, they study, they work day and night. And as you can see over here, the fun fact, more than 6,000 plants need to be screened and tested, then only you can be able to come up with a new trait. Okay, it's as it's in the saying, it's better said than done. So it might seem very easy, that okay, just jana hai, uthana hai peड़ ko, and we will get a new trait. So it's not like that. Okay, so we need to do repeated and repeated rounds of testing and screening before we come up with the desired trait that we need, that we are searching for. Okay, so the scientists conduct research to identify the specific genes responsible for beneficial traits that make the crops resistant to disease, pests, or drought. Now, the second step is also very important. Each and every step is very important in the GMO process. Okay, so the second step is talking about transformation. How will we transform the plant into the new plant that we want? Okay, so here's also a fun fact. There are many ways to transform a cell. One common method uses Agrobacterium tumefaciens, which we have already talked about in details in the previous session, which is a natural bacterium that passes genes to the plants, because the plasmid that was there in this bacterial cell, that is Ti plasmid or tDNA, it can easily integrate and become a part of the plant chromosome or the plant DNA, as we saw. Okay, so once this desired gene is identified, the scientists will transfer the gene into a plant seed, and the result will be a genetically modified organism, or the GM. And the researchers can also turn off or move a gene within a plant to create a GM. So the second step will be the regulatory science. Okay, now always remember, whenever a new vaccine, a new medicine, a new Even a new, if even if it is a new nutritional supplement also, okay, a new protein powder, any kind of health drink, okay, even any kind of cosmetic, any kind of vaccine, and most importantly here we are talking about any kind of new plant or new crop. Regulation or ethics comes as a very important forefront in the entire process, okay, because regulatory science means, or regulation means regulating the entire process, okay, whether there is any risk factors that are associated, what are the chances of the vaccine or the new crop to be successful, okay, these are some of the important aspects of the regulatory science. So here also there is a fun fact, and this regulatory science or this, regulation, ethics, etc., this is mainly looked after by the R&D sector, research and development sector, okay. So we have a new biotech seed product which takes an average of 13 years and about $136 million in R&D before coming to the market. So you can understand how much of financial investment, economical investment it also is. Okay, so just imagine, like expending so huge amount of funds, and then if the project is not successful, then if the vaccine is not working properly, if the new crop, the new GMO is not working properly, then just imagine how much financial loss it will bear, isn't it? So these things are very, economically and financially challenging also for the country if it's a failure. So although the regulatory review process begins here, it will continue throughout the GMO process and carry on through the life cycle of the product. So 75, more than 75 actually, different studies are conducted to demonstrate each new GMO is what are the important characteristics that should be present in the GMO. Number one, it is safe to grow, very important. So the crop exhibits expected characteristics like, for example, insect resistance. Second, it is safe for the environment and beneficial insects. Okay, very important. And last but not the least, it is safe to eat, because what is the ultimate purpose? The ultimate purpose of producing this new crop is meeting the food demand. It is meeting the raised hunger demand or hunger issues, isn't it? So that is the most important thing that we need to keep in mind, that the ultimate crop that we are growing, no matter whatever methods we are using, it should be safe to eat. Okay, it should not be, it should not become a threat to the human population after consuming. Okay, so that is a very important point. Some nutrients as non-GM crops and no new dietary allergens. Okay, like it should not be producing any kind of allergy in the human population. Okay, so more than 75 different studies are preferred on each new biotech product before commercialization to ensure that they are safe for people, animals, and the environment. So, safe not only for the people, not only for the humankind, but also for our environment and also for the other lower groups of organisms. Okay, now step 4 will be greenhouse testing. So here also a fun fact is there. Only after several years of rigorous testing are the top performing plants and traits selected to advance to field testing and further regulatory review. Obviously, because there it's a type of a screening. So only those plants which are healthiest or healthier, only those will be selected. Okay. So after a GMO is developed in the lab, the seedlings are moved to greenhouses where the further tests are performed. So this is exactly how a greenhouse looks like. It's basically a nursery for the plants. And after this greenhouse testing, we will go for field testing, which is also a very important aspect. So here again, I would like to share a fun fact, that is more than 90 government bodies in more than 60 countries globally review and approve GMOs. In many countries, multiple agencies that are involved in the regulation of GMOs are there. Okay, so field trials are an important part of developing new crops or new products. They provide critical scientific and performance data, because field trial means what? Just as in case of vaccines, we do human trial, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial. Similarly, for crops, we need to do, instead of human trial, we need to do field trial, field testing. Means whether the plant is healthy enough to grow under natural circumstances, to grow under natural conditions. isn't it? Because when we are initially growing, just as in case of vaccine or medicine also, when we are initially growing it, developing that particular product or chemical, we are doing it in the lab, we are doing it under lab conditions. Okay, so in this case also it's the same thing. As I explained the process of meristem cloning in the previous session, there also we saw that we are culturing it under petri dishes, culture plates, and then we are going to develop the new plant. So field testing is an important aspect of the GMO process. Okay, and then we will go on to the next step, that is step number 6, which is getting seeds to the farmers. So after testing, the ultimate thing that we need to do, we need to dispose of those seeds to the farmers, because ultimately farmers are the ones who give us food, isn't it? It is very unfortunate that nowadays farmers are the people who are going out and protesting in the roads. Some of them are dying there, some of them are committing suicide because of debt. So these things should not happen. These things are actually very disheartening and unfortunate, but it is happening. But because they are the farmers are like the backbone of the society. If they are not, if they stop producing the crops, we will just simply die out of hunger. Okay, so the ultimate step in GMO process will be handing over these seeds to the farmers, so that they can go on with the farming process. So here again there is a fun fact. In the year 2018, 17 million farmers globally chose to plant GMO seeds for better harvests, improved crop quality, and the ability to use sustainable farming practices such as no-till. So the farmers will choose the seeds that are best for their farms and businesses. They will, they are the best persons to understand that, because they have experience. Both GM and non-GM seeds are available options for farmers. Okay, so it's not necessary that they need to use only the GM seeds. They can also go for the non-GM seeds as well. Okay. Okay, so this is basically a diagram or a chart, you can also say, which is showing the different genetic traits that are expressed in the genetically modified crops or organisms in the US. So first we can see we have apple. Okay, so the genetic trait that is expressed in this apple is non-browning. So the browning of the skin or of the outer layer of the apple will not occur. Use will obviously food. Then we have potato. पोटैटो में क्या दिखा रहा है जेनेटिक ट्रेट्स रिड्यूस्ड ब्रूजिंग एंड ब्लैक स्पॉट नॉन ब्राउनिंग लो acrylamide and blight resistance. Use will also be it will again be food obviously. Then we have field corn. Field corn में देखो जेनेटिक ट्रेट्स क्या क्या होगा insect resistance, herbicide tolerance and drought tolerance. Uses will be livestock and poultry feed. It will be a fuel ethanol. High fructose corn syrup and other sweeteners can be made from this. Corn oil can be made, starch can be made, cereal and other food ingredients can be made, alcohol can be made, and industrial uses can also be done. Then we have canola. Canola, the genetic trait will be herbicide tolerance. It can be used as a cooking oil and as an animal feed. Then we have alfalfa. Alfalfa is a very important crop. Some medicines or tonics are also made from alfalfa. So the genetic trait will be herbicide tolerance again, and uses will be animal feed. Then we have soybean. Soybean is a very important source of protein for the vegetarians. The genetic trait will be insect resistance and herbicide tolerance. Uses will be livestock and poultry feed. Aquaculture, soybean oil, which is a healthy source of vegetable oil, can be made. High oleic acid is there, which is a MUFA, monounsaturated fatty acid. Biodiesel fuel can be produced. Soy milk, soy sauce, tofu, and different other food uses can be there. Lecithin can be produced. It can be also used as a pet food. Adhesives and building materials can be produced from soybean. Printing ink, other industrial uses. And last but not the least, we have rainbow papaya. So the color is like that, hence it's known as rainbow papaya. Genetic traits will be disease resistance, and use will be obviously table fruit. Papaya is a very good fruit actually. It's a very healthy fruit also. Okay, now talking about some facts about genetically modified crops. So the main motto behind producing genetically modified crops will be producing food that is safe and nutritious. So these are the two factors that we need to keep in mind. Okay, the main motto is not to, obviously the main motto is to meet the food demand, but also these are the factors that we need to keep in mind, that the crops should be safe, they should be nutritious, they should do no harm to the environment or other animals, and it should be able to grow under natural conditions, under field conditions. So these are some facts. 6.7 billion acres of farmland used for GMO crops since the year 1996, which is more than 30 years back. 35 more than 35 years have been where the GMO crops have been researched and developed. 71 countries are there where GM crops have been found safe for growing or import, which includes also India. Now coming to the various benefits of GMOs. Okay. See, I have given a diagram also. So we have disease tolerance, we have drought tolerance, we have insect resistance, and we have herbicide tolerance. Now, what is the difference between tolerance and resistance? Resistance means it is completely resisting that particular thing, whether it's an insect or a drought or a pesticide. Okay, or a disease, sorry. But tolerance means it is not being able to completely resist, but it is being able to tolerate it. Means that particular thing, say for example that insect or that herbicide is not being able to kill that particular plant, or is not being able to produce harm to that particular plant. That means it is tolerant. Okay, so there are some examples of the benefits of GMO. So we have corn that is tolerant to drought, insects and diseases. We have soy, that is soybean, that can be planted without tilling, preserving precious topsoil. Okay, tilling means where you need to grind the, or dig the soil up to a particular height underground, and then you will be able to grow that plant. So if we can grow a crop avoiding that tilling part, then obviously it will be good for the topsoil, because the topsoil is the most fertile. So if you dig and go underground and you remove the topsoil, then automatically the fertility of the soil is reduced. So automatically there will be a question where your crop will grow well or not, irrespective of whether it's a GM crop or a non-GM crop. Okay. Then we have cotton, which is protected from harmful insects, and we have papaya, which resists a disease that threaten to wipe out the crop. Okay, so better harvests, where this entire concept of crop biotechnology or agricultural biotechnology, which we are mainly talking about, it started like it extended between 1996 and 2018, and also it was responsible for an additional 32.6 million tons of cotton linked. So these cotton linked 32.6 million tons of cotton link were actually produced artificially or genetically uh, uh, modification. Then we have 278 million tons of soybeans produced through genetic modification or genetical engineering, and we have 498 million tons of corn. So maximum is the number is maximum for corn. So 498 million tons of corn are also being produced as a part of genetically engineered plants. Okay. Now, what are the environmental benefits? So the reduction in pesticides from 1996 to 2018 was estimated at 776 million kilograms, or 8.6% reduction. So again, there's something which is beneficial to the environment, isn't it? Because pesticide jitna kam hoga, utna it will be good for the plants and also for the soil. Second is, in 2018 alone, biotech helped prevent an estimated 23 billion kg of CO2 emission. Very important. CO2 emission is something which we need to do away with, because it is harmful for the environment, it's harmful for the plants, for the trees, for the birds, for the animals, and last but not the least for us. Okay, so CO2 emission needs to be reduced. So any kind of new technology that we are coming up with, if it is able to do away, or if it is able to avoid CO2 emission, then that is a very good thing, or that is a very good initiative. Okay, So it is equivalent to removing around 15.3 million cars from the road for a day, because we all know that cars are also responsible for emitting huge amounts of CO2, and particularly those cars which are running on AC. And nowadays, due to global warming, due to environmental conditions, in most of the metros, continuously in the houses and in the cars, the AC is on, and that is contributing to more and more CO2 emission into the environment. So if we can come up with something which will in turn be equivalent to removing as much as 15.3 million cars from the road, and that too each year, so that's a huge achievement, I would say. Okay, and without biotechnology, it would take an additional 60 million acres to produce the same amount of food produced in 2018, because space is also an important factor. Okay, so if not only genetical modification but also space can be a hindrance for meeting the crop demand. Okay, now coming to GM crop safety. So GM crops, which are reviewed by hundreds of independent risk assessors and scientists, as I have already mentioned previously, so every credible US and International Food Safety Authority that has studied GM crops has found that they are safe and no health effects attributable to their use. So again, I am repeating that safety is the main target, or safety is the main criteria. Even if we are not able to meet the food demand, more than that, safety is our priority, should be our priority. Okay, so since 1992, 71 different countries have granted more than 4,485 commercial use approvals for 403 different biotech events in 29 biotech crops. Because biotech events, as in these events are basically organized by different biotech companies. Okay, in about 29 biotech crops. So coming up with 29 biotech crops is again an important achievement, or a great achievement in itself. Okay, in many countries, there are multiple regulatory authorities, up to 7 in one country, with the responsibility of assessing a particular aspect of safety. So, that much importance it is given. It is given, and it should be. Okay, safety is such an important issue, or such an important concern, that there should be multiple regulatory bodies which are talking about, or which are concerned only about the safety of these new upcoming crops. Okay, because and when these things are not properly done, then only the question of a failing government arises. Okay, because ultimately the common people, aam admi, they always believe on the government, isn't it? So it's the duty of the government, or it's the duty of the governing body to keep building the trust of the common people, and these are some of the ways by which trust can be built. Okay, by coming up with different regulatory bodies which will be doing their job in a diligent manner, seriously. Okay, there should not be any loophole, because we cannot take the risk of having loophole in jobs like this, where lives of thousands and thousands of people are concerned. Okay, and particularly in a country like India, which is so much overpopulated, highly populated. Now we have also crossed the population of China. Okay, and like area wise dekha jaye to we are a smaller country than China. Okay, the area of China is much more. So area wise we were already running before China. Now that area factor has also gone. So we have surpassed the population of China, irrespective of having a lower area than China. Okay. Okay, how much I think the present population statistics tells that population of India is around 1.42 billion currently. So that is huge, isn't it? So in such a country, even if we are coming up with a new crop, a GMO crop, before coming up with the crop, we need to be almost 200% sure that that crop will be safe for use. Because as soon as it is marketized, as soon as it is commercialized, and it comes in the market for sale, millions and millions of people will come and start buying it, isn't it? So before producing it in the market, we need to be 200% sure that it is safe. Okay, so that's all about genetic engineering of plants. Please like, share and subscribe ITLS Academy. Thank you.